stop and walked up by himself to the Subadar commanding the fort. He kept a frenzied grip on the barrel of an old and rusty gun that he carried across his shoulders. He had no time to waste over any triviality. "Water," his hoarse voice said from between cracked and bleeding lips. "Our water is finished. Spare us some water." The Subadar pointed wordlessly toward a half-empty bucket from which the soldiers had been drinking. The man lifted the bucket and drew back toward the woman, who was now huddled on the ground. He cradled her head in the crook of his arm, wet the end of her shawl in the bucket, and squeezed some drops of water onto her face. Tenderly, and feeling no shame at so many eyes watching him, he wiped her face with a wet cloth as she lay in his arms. A young soldier snickered but immediately fell silent as the baleful eyes of his commander and his companions turned on him. After the man had cleansed her face, the Baluch cupped his right hand and splashed driblets of water onto her lips. As she sensed water, she started sucking his hand and fingers like a small animal. All of a sudden, she lunged toward the bucket, plunged her head into it, and drank with long gasping sounds until she choked. The man then patiently pushed her away, drank some of the water himself, and carried the bucket up to the camel, which finished whatever was left in a single gulp. He brought the empty bucket back to the group of soldiers, set it down and stood there, silent and unmoving. At last the Subadar spoke. "We have given you water. Do you wish for anything else?" A struggle seemed to be going on within the man, and after a while, very reluctantly, he looked back at the Subadar. "Yes, I wish for refuge for the two of us. We are Siapids from Kila Kurd, on the run from her people. We have traveled for 3 days in the storm, and any further travel will surely—" "Refuge," interrupted the Subadar brusquely, "I cannot offer. I know your laws well, and neither I nor any man of mine shall come between a man and the laws of his tribe." He repeated, "Refuge we can't give you." The man bit his lips with the pain that roiled within him. He had diminished himself by seeking refuge. He had compromised his honor by offering to live as a hamsaya, in the shadow of another human being. He turned as if to move but realized that he had no choice but to humble himself further. He once again faced the Subadar. "I accept the reply," he said. "I shall not seek refuge of you. Can I have food and shelter for a few days?" "That we shall give you," the Subadar hastened to atone for his earlier severity. "Shelter is yours for the asking, for as long as you wish it, for as long as you want to stay." There was a long line of rooms some distance away from the fort. These had been hastily constructed during the First World War, when the strength of this fort had, for a short period of time, increased almost 100-fold. Sand had started collecting against the walls as soon as the construction was raised. Slowly and steadily, it had risen, and, with no one to clear it, had reached roof level after a few years. With the passage of time, most of the walls and roofs caved in under its crumbling pressure. Now, nearly 50 years after the initial construction, mounds of sand occupied these rooms. However, there still remained a few that hadn't yet collapsed. It was in one of these rooms that Gul Bibi and her lover were provided their shelter. For a few days, the couple hardly stirred outside their one small room. The only signs of life were the opening and closing of shutters as the wind died or strengthened, or when food was taken to the hut by the soldiers. Some time after the food had been left at the doorstep, the door would open furtively and the platter would be dragged in, to be pushed outside a while later. As days passed, the couple appeared to gather more courage. They would occasionally leave the door open while the man stepped outside to look after his camel. Then one day the woman, too, came out to make a broom out of some thorn shrubs for sweeping the room. After a few days of inactivity,